Part 71. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 743. Rog said with admiration, "There are so many strange things on Sky Island, no wonder life is both convenient and interesting." Cornish continued, "There are many types of empty shells, including flame shells that can store fire, flavor shells that store taste, and image shells that store images. There are even some special varieties that can be used as weapons." Zoro looked at Cornus and said, "A kongbei that can be used as a weapon." Cornus realized something and said, "Those things are scary, it's best not to come into contact with them." Zoro didn't take it seriously and said, "I'm just curious. But as a swordsman, if you throw away the sword in your hand and use some weird empty shell as a weapon, other swordsmen will laugh out loud." Cornish's expression became relaxed again, and she said, "In short, all aspects of Kondeo's life are related to these kongbei." Robin praised, "The kingdom of God is really amazing." Cornish said, "So the culture of Kondeo can be said to be a culture that coexists with kongbei." While everyone was talking, suddenly the door of the living room was pushed open. Pagia entered the living room. This middle-aged man with a kind face said to the people in the living room, "Everyone, the delicious meal is ready. Please prepare to enjoy it." "Okay." When it comes to eating delicious meals on Sky Island, both Usopp, Luffy and Chopper are all in high spirits. Then Sanji pushed in a dining car. Sanji said to the people present, "Okay, everyone. The delicious meal on Sky Island has been prepared by the super-class chef Sanji. Please enjoy it now." Sanji moved the plates of delicacies on the dining car to the table in the living room with skillful movements. This plate full of delicacies is centered around seafood and fruit. A huge Sky Island lobster is placed in the center. Delicious grilled lobster topped with a special Sky Island spice sauce. The aroma of these sauces quickly filled the whole living room. Chopper exclaimed, "It smells so good." Luffy looked at the table of delicacies with greedy eyes and said, "My stomach can't help but growl." Usopp was almost drooling, but he realized that he was a little embarrassed, so he quickly looked at these delicious dishes and said, "Captain Usopp also has to admit that these dishes really look delicious. The dishes of Sky Island, after Captain Usopp tastes it, he will definitely become famous." After Roger saw these delicious Sky Island dishes, he exclaimed, "It looks very good." Zoro looked at these delicious dishes and said, "Are these the dishes of Sky Island? Even if the cook also participated in the cooking, the taste will not be bad." Sanji glared at Zoro, and he looked at Robin again. Sanji said very attentively, "Sister Robin, this table of delicacies is a full meal of fruit and Tianjin seafood carefully prepared by my uncle and I. There are many fruits and seafood special to Sky Island. It is good for women's skin and body. It's good for your health. Please enjoy it, Sister Robin." Robin said politely, "Thank you, Sanji. Then I'm welcome. It's starting." Luffy and Chopper couldn't bear it anymore, and they started eating. A few foodies devoured it and chewed it with big mouthfuls. Very delicious. The delicacy in the sky. As expected of Kondeo's food, it's just different. Almost everyone gave these delicacies a thumbs up. Sanji observed the living room and said, "What a pity, Miss Nami is not here." Sanji walked to the balcony and looked at the clouds from the balcony. Nami's Viva gallops on the clouds. Your partner is really amazing. It is the first time to control Vaeba so freely. Konis also went to the balcony to look at the clouds. Sanji looked at Cornus and said politely, "Miss Nami is a talented navigator." Cornus was a little surprised and said, "It turns out that Nami is a navigator. No wonder she is so strong. But this level is top-notch among navigators." Sanji walked to Cornus and said enthusiastically, "Miss Cornus, come, let's go to the living room. Many of this delicious meals are specially prepared by me for the lady." Sanji and Konis re-entered the living room together. Above the clouds in the distance, Nami sailed on the clouds with the Vayaba. It's so cool. Nami pushed the right pedal to the bottom with her right foot. The wind shell at Vayaba's stern ejected an astonishing airflow, and the small boat moved towards the distance of the clouds at a very high speed. In the living room of Pagoya's house, everyone ate and drank wantonly. This meal, which uses high-quality fruit and seafood that is a specialty of Sky Island, was cooked by Sanji and Pagia. It was delicious. Let Rog, Zoro, and Usopp enjoy themselves. Sanji and Cornish diligently introduced various delicacies. Although ingredients from the Sky Island were used and Page also participated in the cooking, Sanji's cooking skills were amazing and he combined the ingredients and sauces from the Sky Island to cook on the spot. Several delicious dishes. Cornish praised Sanji and said, "Sanji, your cooking skills are really strong." After hearing this, Sanji was immediately delighted. He said with love on his face, "I am very lucky to be praised by Miss Cornish." Rog looked towards the balcony, and now Nami was completely out of sight. Rog said strangely, "Why did Nami disappear without a trace?" Then Usopp and Sauron also looked at Rog strangely. Usopp said, "Based on Nami's temperament, she must have driven the tyrant to a distant place." When Konis and Pagia heard this, their expressions also changed. Cornish said to Page, "Father, will everything be okay?" A bit of sadness suddenly appeared on Pagia's kind face. "It's very complicated, and I always have an uneasy feeling," he said. Rog looked at Cornish and asked, "What's going on?" Others also looked at Konis and Pagia curiously. Cornish explained with a very serious expression, "In this kingdom of gods, there is a piece of land that is a forbidden land that can never be entered. And that piece of land is right next to our Sky Island, and you can reach it soon by driving the Vayaba." After hearing this, Usopp asked curiously, "You can't even step into it? Where is that place?" "That's holy ground," Cornish said. Usopp said, "Holy place?" Cornish said, "Yes, that's what people call it. That's the land where God lives, Apaidu." Luffy was shocked after hearing this and said, "You mean God? Is there really a God? He lives in that place that is absolutely forbidden to set foot in. If you like Pirates Plant Fruit, please collect it. Pirates Plant Fruit handmade game has the fastest update speed." Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 744. Chopper asked in confusion, "God? Are there gods living on this empty island? How could such a thing happen?" Cornish said seriously, "Yes, the island we are on is the so-called Kingdom of Gods. It is ruled by the Almighty God Enel." Sanji looked suspicious and said, "The Almighty God?" Cornish continued, "God Enel is omniscient and controls everything in this world. Everything we do can be noticed by him anytime, anywhere." Hearing such a wicked story from Konis, Usopp stood up from the sofa in surprise. "Anytime, anywhere? Could it be that we are also being watched by him now?" Usopp asked in horror. "Is it really like this?" Luffy also had a look of disbelief. "Terrible." Chopper looked around nervously. The thought of having something that can watch them all the time, watching them all the time, will send shivers down the spine of anyone. Robin's face was calm, and she said, "That means he is also observing us now." Sauron's face was still peaceful, and he was a little dismissive. "Humph. Another god." Zoro was very disdainful. Chopper looked at Zoro and asked with a strange expression, "Zoron, don't you believe in God?" Zoro said calmly, "I don't know whether there is a God, but I haven't seen it anyway, and I won't deny those who believe in gods. Because whether there is a God or not has nothing to do with me. I don't care about that kind of thing. It doesn't matter." Chopper looked at Zoro in confusion. This resolute swordsman only has the art of swordsmanship in his heart. Sanji looked at Cornish and felt that the situation was not good. He asked, then the omnipotent God who lives in Apayadu, Cornus, have you seen it with your own eyes? Cornus quickly waved her hands and said, no, how is this possible? We absolutely cannot set foot on God's land, Apayadu. God's holy land, Apayadu, is a forbidden land. Rog looked at the worried Cornus and asked, then what will happen once you set foot on Apayadu's land? Cornus' face turned ugly, and she said with great worry, the residents here on Condeo all agree that after setting foot on Apayadu's land, they will never be able to come back. In other words, they will completely disappear from the world. After hearing these words, everyone felt their hearts skip a beat. Sanji opened his mouth wide in surprise, and the newly lit cigarette fell from his mouth. At this moment, Sanji is most worried about Nami. Nami controls the powerful bully, just in case. Sanji's originally calm expression suddenly furrowed his brows. At this time, Nami drove Vayaba all the way from the clouds at high speed. After driving for a while, Nami suddenly saw a large forest in the distance. What's going on? Could it be that there is another empty island? Nami continued to drive Vayaba towards the forest in the sky. With Vayaba approaching, Nami finally saw the scene of this forest. Vayaba finally stopped at a distance of only a few tens of meters from the forest. The trees in this forest are all extremely tall. Many trees that are only 6 or 7 meters long in the world below are tens or even hundreds of meters long. How are these trees so tall? Nami looked at these tall trees in surprise. However, she moved her gaze to the tree again. Originally, Nami thought that this place was the same island cloud as what she saw in Sky Island before. But she was surprised to find that underneath these huge trees were rocks and soil. Just like the rocks and soil of the islands in the normal world below. Nami said very strangely, what happened? How come these rocks and soil appear in the sky on a large scale? And these plants are also very similar to the ones below, except for the size. Nami saw that these huge trees were actually very similar to the trees in the world below. After arriving at the previous Sky Island, Nami also saw some trees and plants of the Sky Island. But the trees were clearly of the kind from the lower world. It's just a little bigger. Nami was confused as to why there was such a large area of land in the sky and the same types of trees in the world below. When Nami was observing the land and these huge trees, she didn't know that a huge crisis was coming. In the living room of Pagoya's house, everyone looked at each other in blank dismay after listening to what Kones and Pagoya had told. But under this situation, Luffy became interested. Luffy's eyes were shining as he said, really? It's a place that must never be set foot in. Usopp on the side saw that Luffy had evil intentions, and quickly grabbed Luffy and said seriously, Luffy, what are you thinking about? You have to understand, people said that there is absolutely no place to set foot in. What does it mean? It's a place you absolutely cannot enter. However, Luffy's face was still full of excitement. He said, this is a place you absolutely cannot enter. Then, ha 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 ha. Usopp's face was very ugly, and the others knew what Luffy meant by this. He definitely wants to get in. Everyone spoke in unison. Luffy then came to the table again, stabbed a large piece of grilled empty fish fillet with his fork and stuffed it into his mouth. After chewing it and swallowing it, Luffy added, but since it is God's holy place, God will forgive us if we go in, right? After all, God's words must be very tolerant. Luffy took it for granted, thinking that God must be broad-minded. Cornus frowned and said, that's not the case. After all, breaking God's rules and setting foot on God's holy land is tantamount to blaspheming the Almighty God. The more Usopp and Chopper listened, the more nervous they became. They retreated from such a dangerous matter. Luffy, however, showed no concern at all. He said, it's like this, it doesn't matter. I don't care anyway. At this time, Rog said, everyone, Nami's whereabouts are unknown now. So we all have to prepare for the worst. But it doesn't matter about taking risks. The key is that if any of our partners is in danger, we must do whatever it takes to save them. He rescued it. Wasn't it? Sanji also said firmly, if Miss Nami is in danger, the knight will be the first to rush forward. No matter how dangerous the situation is now, Sanji can't tolerate Nami being hurt in the slightest. The knight should protect the lady without hesitation. After seeing Rog and Sanji being so determined, Luffy was even more motivated. Of course, Luffy doesn't necessarily think that Nami is in danger, he is adventurous first. Luffy said, okay, let's get ready to go. Usopp hurried to Luffy's side and said, don't think it's so easy. And it's still unknown whether Nami went there or not. We might as well wait. The error-free chapters of Pirate Plant Fruit will continue to be updated. There are no ads on the site. Please collect and play it. If you like Pirates Plant Fruit, please collect it. Pirates Plant Fruit handmade game has the fastest update speed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 745. Sanji was already out of control, and he became very impatient. Sanji said, no matter what, get ready quickly. Let's go and set sail on the Mary. Luffy said, okay, but I need to fill my stomach quickly before setting off. Only in that best condition can I complete this adventure. No, it's Nami's rescue operation. After all, Luffy began to eat on the table wantonly. He swallowed the remaining meals of the others like a whirlwind. Sanji was very angry and scolded Luffy, you still have the heart to eat and drink like this, so hurry up and eat. Wait until you come back. Luffy ate faster, gobbling it up. Rog said to Sanji, the speed of using the Mary is still too slow. The field of vision is also limited. Wait, we will use the branch wings to search. Sanji said okay. Just as everyone was preparing to set off to find Nami. Nami was in front of the land where huge trees grew in Apayadu, observing the appearance of this land and the huge trees. Nami looked at these huge trees and said doubtfully, these trees can grow so huge. I don't know how old they are. Nami couldn't help feeling that there was an unbelievable danger hidden in the land ahead. At this moment, Nami suddenly heard a strange voice. There is absolutely nothing wrong, the treasure must be here, the endless treasure is here, already close right in front of you. The voice was very low, but quite clear. Nami frowned, her face turning serious. She realized someone was around here. Nami continued to listen carefully to the voice. The treasure is here, hurry up. The sound was intermittent, but it was indeed very clear. Nami drove Vayaba to change direction, and drove slowly and cautiously towards the place where the sound came from. The Viper controlled by Nami finally arrived behind a rock outside this land, and saw a very dilapidated small ship here. The sails above were already highly damaged, and the hull of the ship was also full of scars. Nami looked at the broken boat and said, there doesn't seem to be anyone on it. Nami steered Viva closer to the wrecked boat, and she climbed onto the boat. Walking on the deck of this dilapidated boat, Nami saw 3 amazing parallel cracks on the side of the hull. Nami walked closer to observe the 3 parallel cracks. After observing, she said in surprise, these are the claw marks of some animal. Was it attacked by something terrible? There is also a large spiral shell on the deck of this broken boat, which is an empty shell. Suddenly a bird flew out from the forest, it landed on the top of the shell, and the bird's claws pressed on the top of the shell. There is absolutely nothing wrong, the treasure must be here, the endless treasure is here, already in front of you, the treasure is right here, hurry up. Nami looked at the empty shell and said in surprise, the shell is actually talking. Nami walked up to the empty shell and touched it with her fingers. Nami said strangely, "What happened? Could it be that there are still people living in it?" Nami had just arrived at the beach of Sky Island and borrowed Pagoya's Vayaba to drive. She didn't listen to Koniza's introduction to the various types of sky shells, and naturally she didn't know that it was a sound shell that could record sound. Nami continued to observe the sound shell. She pressed the top of the sound shell. Suddenly, the sound of the sound stopped. Nami continued to observe this sound shell. She felt very strange. Click. Nami inadvertently pressed the top of the tone shell again. Yinbei made a sound again. Listen well, use this to record the sound, maybe it will be useful in the future. After hearing this sentence, Nami suddenly realized. She looked at the sound shell and said, "I see, this thing is used to record sounds." The sound of Yinbei continued to play. "No, don't. I'm going back, I'm so scared that I can feel the wrath of God. Stab, stab, what is this sound, this light, this is the wrath of God. Ah!" Accompanied by the final scream, Inberg's voice was played completely. After listening to these voices, Nami looked at the sound shell in her hand with a worried expression and said, "Were they killed, by gods?" There was no one around, except for the rustling of the leaves of the huge trees in the huge forest in the wind. This strange land and mysterious forest made Nami feel an unprecedented sense of uneasiness. Nami looked around and said to herself, "It's better to go back quickly, it's too weird here." Just as Nami was about to leave, suddenly there was a huge roar in the huge forest. Nami was startled. After a while of bird calls, a large number of birds flew out of the huge forest. Nami had a bad feeling after seeing it. In this forest, an explorer in ragged clothes is running wildly in the forest. He was bruised and disgraced. It was like escaping from death. However, behind him, a burly bald man wearing sunglasses and bare arms was moving swiftly through the forest chasing him. In the eyes of the bald man, the escaped explorer was like a prey. What a prey who doesn't understand his situation. Even though he has a % mortality rate, he still struggles like this. The bald man muttered to himself. The desperately fleeing explorer panted heavily. The explorer's other partners all died in the depths of the forest, and he was the only one who fled to the edge of the forest. The bald man who was chasing him put his hand to his mouth and whistled. Call. A whistle sounded. Then a huge monster ran quickly in the forest. The 4 strong legs of this behemoth alternate, and the huge body quickly rushes towards the desperately fleeing explorer. The explorer heard a terrifying sound behind him. He looked back suddenly, and saw a huge white hound that was as big as an elephant rushing towards him. Ow! The white hound opened its bloody mouth violently, trying to swallow the explorer in one gulp. Just as the huge white hound was about to bite its prey into its mouth. Chirp! A shrill chirp sounded. I saw a huge vulture-like strange bird flying over. There is also a knight in leather on the back of this vulture-like strange bird. The knight jumped off the back of the strange bird and kicked the huge white hound with one kick. Boom! The knight kicked the huge white hound away with one kick. The huge white retriever rolled and fell to the ground. If you like Pirates Plant Fruit, please collect it. Pirates Plant Fruit handmade game has the fastest update speed. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 746. The bald man looked at the knight and said angrily, "Shura! How dare you steal prey from me?" The knight quickly called the huge strange bird, and the strange bird flew over, and the knight quickly jumped onto the back of the huge strange bird. Riding on the back of the strange bird, the knight ordered the strange bird to chase the explorer. This leather-clad knight, like Sky Knight Ganfor, is armed with a knight's spear. To chase your prey, you must first make him feel pain and then be dealt with. The knight was very excited and kept stabbing the galloping explorer with his knight's spear. The knight in leather was named Shura. It is one of the four priests only under the Almighty God Enlil. Ganfall is known as the Sky Knight, and Shura is known as the Sky Knight. Sky Knight Shura loves to torment his prey while he hunts them down. Just as Shura was hunting down the explorers, a voice came. Ah ha 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 ha, wow. Hearing this voice, Shura's face immediately changed. A man who was as fat as glutinous rice balls passed by Shura. The other party said, Shura, I want this prey. Shura immediately became angry and said, Salide. Stop ruining my good deeds. But Shurid, who was like a glutinous rice ball, rushed directly towards the explorer. The explorer ran as hard as he could and finally fell to the ground. The glutinous rice ball like Shurid quickly landed in front of the explorers. Wow, you can't escape anymore. The explorer got up desperately, and he saw that the clouds were already visible in front of him. It can be said that now he has desperately rushed to the edge of this huge forest. In fact, if you rush to dozens of meters desperately, you will be able to escape from the forbidden land of Apayadu. At this time, Nami drove Vayaba to the cloud layer closest to here. Nami could now see the embarrassed explorer and the priests surrounding him. Nami said with a serious face, What is going on? What is happening in this forest? The explorer was quickly surrounded by four priests. Shura, Salad, the bald man, and the last man with strange hair surrounded the embarrassed explorer from all sides. Shurid looked at the bald man and said, your white hound is really huge. It seems to have always been very loyal to you. Although he looks so huge, he is as well behaved as a puppy inside. The bald man's name is and he is known as an empty livestock farmer. He has always had this white hound. This white hound grew from the size of an arm to as huge as an elephant. Looked at Shurid and said, Humph, Sheng Sheng is loyal to me. He understands what I mean. As soon as finished speaking, the huge white hound named Sheng Jing he was riding under him barked woof. Looked at the priest with weird hair again. He said to the priest, Gidaz, you came too late. This way the prey won't be your turn to catch. The priest named Gidaz looked at the explorer and said, he is a blasphemer who broke into the holy land of Apayadu. As the captain of the Kong Guard, I must bring him to justice. Gidaz is the priest who is known as the chief guard of the sky. He has weird hair, a spider's foot cut, teeth biting his upper lip, and rolling eyes. The four eccentric priests all took this bruised and distressed explorer as their prey. Said to the others, this is my prey. Shura said disdainfully, do you want to take action against me? It's not that I can't accompany you, but my strength will make those who dare to challenge regret it. Looked at Shura and said, what a loud tone. Do you and that strange bird want to become feed for my dog? Shura looked at and Sheng Sheng and said, huh. Isn't it just a huge white hound? My cross-legged bird is a 3-foot-long bird that is both fast and powerful. The strange bird Shura was riding was called cross-legged, a 3-foot bird with exaggerated strength and speed. It crossed its legs and opened its huge beak, shouting chirp. This 3-foot bird looks like a vulture, but it doesn't look like it. Its head is somewhat similar to a vulture, but its wings are stronger than an eagle. The glutinous rice ball-like priest Salide was very happy. He jumped slightly on the ground like a rubber ball. Shurid said, wow, you two little characters are about to start a fight, there's a good show to watch. This chubby priest was born an optimist. Nirvana stared at Salide with a pair of rolled-out white eyes and said, you are a minor character. The explorer was extremely frightened, and now he has completely become the prey of a group of hungry wolves. Nami is watching what's going on there from a distance. After all, there were still tens of meters away, and Nami couldn't hear the sound clearly, but she could tell that the explorer's situation was very bad. Just when this happened in Apayadu's land. On top of the clouds near Apayadu, a masked warrior is driving what looks like roller skates on his feet. The mask on the soldier's head was exactly the same as the one who attacked Rog and Sauron before. This warrior holds a shield in his left hand and a single cannon in his right hand. His mask had 2 holes showing his eyes, which were full of hatred. Analu, your days are coming to an end. This warrior is full of hatred. A pair of roller skates he rides on has also been fitted with small wind shells. To some extent, it can also be said to be a small Vayaba. People living in the Sky Island area call it the skate brawler. This kind of ice skate power is like a pair of flexible skates, but it is just walking on the clouds or in mid-air, and those who can control it are quite powerful fighters. The ice skates on the feet of this masked warrior made 2 marks on the clouds. He rushed to the land of Apayadu. Outside the land of Apayadu, Nami stood on the Vayaba to observe the terrifying scene in the forest tens of meters away. Nami's face was very serious, she knew that the danger might come to her. At this time, Nami suddenly heard a sound similar to the powerful wind shell jets. She turned her head behind her involuntarily and saw a masked warrior approaching her. Fear flickered in Nami's eyes immediately, and she could see it at a glance. This masked warrior was the one who attacked the Mary just after it reached the sky. Because the patterns on the mask and the eyes full of hatred in the eye holes are unforgettable. The error-free chapters of Pirate Plant Fruit will continue to be updated. There are no ads on the site. Please collect and play it. If you like Pirates Plant Fruit, please collect it. Pirates Plant Fruit handmade game has the fastest update speed. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 747. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. The masked warrior just glanced at Nami out of the corner of his eye, but he ignored Nami and looked at Apayadu instead. He discovered that in the Apayadu forest, 4 priests appeared at such a close distance at the same time. The masked warrior raised his single cannon and aimed it at the priest in the forest. Nami looked at the masked warrior in horror, but she knew it was best to do nothing at this moment. The masked fighter took aim and pulled the trigger. Boom! A powerful special shell was fired from the single-man cannon. This special cannonball was fired at the location of the 4 priests. Including Om, Shura, Salide, Gidaz, and the explorer all saw this fire. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion sounded in the huge forest of Apayadu. After the dazzling fire, thick smoke billowed. Nami looked at the masked warrior in horror. This mysterious warrior was full of cruelty and cruelty. When the thick smoke in the huge forest of Apayadu continued to rage, suddenly a figure staggered out of the thick smoke. Nami saw it and said strangely, "What is going on?" It was the explorer who rushed out of the thick smoke just now. The explorer fell to the ground as soon as he rushed out of the thick smoke, but at this time he was already at the edge of the Apayadu land. The explorer gritted his teeth and regained his composure. He suddenly saw Nami standing on top of Vayaba on the clouds in front of him. He suddenly stretched out his hand and called to Nami, "Help me, take me out of here." After Nami saw this person asking for help, she quickly said, "But, this is for single use." The bruised explorer continued, "I came here from another empty island to find treasures, but now I don't want any treasures. Please save me." Nami looked at Weiba at her feet very hesitantly, and said, "I don't know if it can carry people." The desperate explorer finally became anxious and said, "Even if I kill you, I will seize this powerful ship and escape." The explorer pulled out a sharp dagger. Nami looked horrified. But at this moment, the explorer was suddenly stunned. Because he saw the masked warrior behind Nami. "It's the gorillas," he said in surprise. The masked warrior aimed his one-man cannon at him. The eyes under the mask were full of cold light. At this moment, suddenly there was a strange sound above the explorer. Buzz. There was a muffled sound like a thunderstorm in the clouds. The explorer looked up. A large number of blue lightning-like light beams began to appear above him, and they became more and more dense. Finally, the blue light beams gathered into a huge one and fell from the sky. In front of this absolutely crushing force, The explorer said the last word, "It's God." A huge blue light beam descended from the sky and completely covered the explorer and the area around him with a diameter of 10 meters. Buzzing. A huge blue beam of light descended vertically from the sky, like a huge hammer hitting the ground. The blue beam of light was so dazzling that it illuminated everything around it in a vast whiteness, dwarfing even the bright sunlight in the sky. Nami said in surprise, "What is this?" The masked warrior looked at the huge blue beam with hatred and said, "Damn it, is it Enel? He actually dared to destroy Beth." The huge blue light beam severely damaged the area where the explorer was hit, and the surrounding area, whether it was a huge tree or the land of Apayadu, was destroyed. The damage caused by the huge blue beam also affected nearby clouds. Because of the attack of this huge blue light beam, the huge impact force caused the surrounding clouds to roll and shake. Nami is trying to control the Vayaba to maintain stability, while the masked warrior uses both feet to stabilize the ice blade Vayaba under his feet. However, the attack of this huge blue beam will eventually subside. Less than 10 seconds after the explorer was attacked, the huge blue light beam disappeared. With the disappearance of the huge blue light beam, the dazzling light also disappeared. With the disappearance of the huge blue light beam, the shock wave also disappeared, and the land on the edge of Apayadu and the nearby clouds finally returned to calm. The masked warrior looked at Apayadu and the clouds, which had regained their calm. There was a big hole in the land of Apayadu, which was destroyed. The diameter of this big hole is more than 10 meters. The soldier said with anger, "Enilu, let's write down this account for now." He realized that if Enilu targeted this place, he would also be in danger. To deal with a powerful enemy, it is necessary to use guerrilla warfare to consume the opponent. The masked warrior drove away quickly with the pair of ice skates on his feet. Nami looked at the masked warrior driving away quickly, and she gasped heavily. Nami looked at the position that was just attacked by the huge blue light beam. In addition to a big hole appeared at the position directly hit, the trees in the surrounding huge forest also burst into flames. "The fire here is too big, use water shells quickly." Suddenly someone's voice sounded. Nami felt something was wrong when she heard the voice. She quickly drove Vayaba and quickly hid behind a rock near the land of Apayadu. Behind the raging fire, the 4 priests Shura, Om, Salad, and Gadez were all preparing to put out the fire. Salid quickly took out an empty shell the size of a wooden barrel, which was a water shell. "Wow, Shuaibei is here to put out the fire." Shurat opened the water shell and quickly sprayed out a large amount of water. This water is shot out in the form of a mist, which enables a large area to cover the fire. Soon, under the spray of Salad's water shells, the fire in this forest was finally extinguished. After the fire was extinguished, Salid and the others surrounded the huge hole in the ground that had just been attacked by a huge blue beam. Om looked at the big hole. The explorer was directly hit by such a powerful blue light beam, and he was already turned into coke. Even hard rocks will be burned to ashes by this huge blue beam. Om recalled something again and said, "Who was he talking to just now? I heard him talking to someone." Shurat said, "A gorilla appeared here just now. He used a single-person artillery to bombard us. Who else could it be besides him? It must be that person asking for help from the gorillas. But it's really strange. At this time, the gorillas just happened to appear. These guys are really annoying. They are really fighting us to the death." Pirate Plant Fruit. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee are a Dream. Chapter 748. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Om still seems to feel a little strange. He thinks the situation just now is really complicated. Om's pet dog Sheng Sheng opened his mouth and kept barking woof woof woof. Shura said to Om very unhappy, "Please let your dog be quiet." Shuro looked at the big hole again, and then moved his gaze to the clouds in the distance. Shuro looked puzzled and said, "It's really strange. That person just now really asked that gorilla for help." Gidez looked at the huge hole and said, "But what on earth is Master Eniro thinking? Since he plans to do it himself, why send us to hunt down this person who desecrated the Holy Land?" Shuro said, "Well, Sir Eniro must think that there is not enough time." Gidez suddenly remembered something and said, "By the way, the next batch of illegal immigrants have already entered the kingdom of God. Previously, I received a notification from Grandma Amazon, the supervisor of the Gate of Heaven, that 8 Qinghai people entered illegally by boat." Shura said unhappily, "There are only 8 people. It's really boring. There's not enough to kill at all." Ohm said, "As long as the prey is valuable, don't forget that each of us has encountered a prey with extraordinary strength." Shura glared at him and said, "Humph." Then Chirad, Shura, Ohm, Gadaz 4 priests left here one after another. Nami, who was hiding behind a rock, heard the conversation of the 4. She felt fear and anxiety for a while. 8 illegal intruders from Qinghai. Nami remembered what the Amazon mother-in-law said before when she entered the Gate of Heaven. Everyone needs to pay a huge entry fee. Does it mean that if you don't pay the entry fee, you are an illegal intruder? What's going on with these people? Who are they and what's going on with them? Where are they? If I stay here any longer, the consequences can be said to be unimaginable. I have to go back quickly. We will notify everyone as soon as possible." Nami hurriedly drove Vayaba and began to return to the beach area of Sky Island. On Angel Beach, Rog, Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy are all gathered here. Because too many people would be a burden, and the melee also needs someone to stay on board. So Rog, Sanji, Usopp, and Luffy use the plant wings given by Rog to fly and explore. Chopper, Robin and Zoro stayed behind on the Mary. Rog said to Zoro and the others, "We are looking for Nami, and I will leave the melee to you." Zoro said, "Don't worry." Sanji said passionately, "Miss Nami, don't be afraid. The night is coming." Usopp waved his hands and said, "Captain Usopp leads everyone to save our friends and attack." Luffy is holding a wooden barrel full of food. Let's go." Luffy kept stuffing the food in the barrel into his mouth with his hands. Rog said, "Okay, let's go." The branches and wings on the backs of Rog, Usopp, Luffy, and Sanji began to unfold and violently fanned. The 4 of them flew up like birdmen with the branches and wings. Seeing this scene, Konis and Pagia were shocked. Konis was surprised and said, "How could this happen?" Pagia said in shock, "They can actually fly." Chopper shouted, "You must find Nami." Robin and Sauron watched the 4 of Rog fly away. After the 4 disappeared from sight, Robin looked at Konis and Pagia again. The 2 were still shocked and surprised. But Robin also saw the pair of white wings on their backs. Although the pair of white wings are not big, they are very neat. It really does look like angel wings. Robin asked Cornus and said, "I would like to ask, what are the wings on your back?" Cornus reacted, she looked at Robin and said, "Ah, you ask about the wings on our backs. These wings are not actually grown from our bodies. They are considered a decorative item. So they cannot fly." Robin nodded and said, "I see, they are actually decorative items. But it really looks like you are angels from heaven." When Robin said this, Konis felt a little embarrassed. Konis said, "Where? But what really surprises me is that your partners actually have something that can make people fly. It is really amazing that it can make people grow wings and fly into the sky." Robin said, "Rog can use the power of plant fruits. He is a very powerful devil fruit user. He can control and transform plants into weapons." Konis said, "Is it like this? It's really amazing." Paige was also surprised and said, "It is said that devil fruit, the user with devil fruit abilities, originated in Qinghai. It is a powerful thing. Once you eat the devil fruit, you will have unimaginable power beyond ordinary people. Robin is also a devil fruit user, and so is Chopper. Robin asked Paige, are people with devil fruit abilities rare on this island? Paige explained, yes, devil fruit ability users are very rare here on Sky Island. But we have seen magic. Magic? Robin and Joe Barton suddenly became surprised. Paigia said, there are actually many Sky Islands. We are the kingdom of gods here. There is a Sky Island called Victoria, which is a Sky Island full of magic. There used to be magicians who came here from Victoria Sky Island. He performed magic for us. Note that it was real magic, definitely not something called magic that came from Qinghai to fool people. Because I personally experienced the feeling of being levitated by magic back then. There was absolutely nothing fake about it. Robin's face was calm, and she naturally knew about magic. After all, the goddess of spring, who was born on the magic island in the depths of the Great Root, has fought side by side with everyone for a long time. So Robin can understand the existence of magic very well, but among the empty islands there is also an island that thrives on magic, which Robin did not expect. But what is the connection between the magic island deep in the Grand Line and the Victoria Sky Island mentioned by Paige? This is a mystery that may only be known in the future. Robin added, it's really shocking. There are magicians in the sky. After hearing this, Paigia said, you seem to be saying, have you ever seen a magician in Qinghai? Robin said, of course I've met. We've been together for a while. Chopper also said excitedly, the magician is like a mythical goddess. She is gentle and has very powerful magic. She has helped us escape from danger many times. Pirate plant fruit. Pirate plant fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 749. You can search for pirate plant fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Paigia looked at Chopper, then looked at Robin and Zoro. He said, can you say that you are explorers from Qinghai? When asked about this, Chopper's face immediately changed. Facing the very kind and gentle father and daughter in front of him, saying that he was a pirate didn't seem very good. Chopper said, in Qinghai we are looking for treasures and exploring the ocean for adventure. Just say we are pirates. At this time, the outspoken Zoran spoke sharply. Kyoba immediately became very embarrassed. He looked at Zoran dissatisfied. Zoran, can you say this? Chopper questioned Zoro. Zoro waved his hand and said, I've always said it's okay for some things that don't need to be covered up. Chopper could only look at Konis and Paige in embarrassment. He forced a smile and said, we are pirates, a pirate group. We are great adventurers on the Sea of Qinghai. Cornus and Paigia looked at the sail of the Mary again. Although the sails are furled, there is still the pirate flag of the Straw Hat Pirates on the top of the mast. There are two long crossbones beneath the straw hat skull. Seeing this, Konis and Paigia looked at each other. They had contacted people from Qinghai before. I have heard a little about what happened to pirates. Chopper still had an embarrassed look on his face and a wry smile, although he regarded being a pirate as a dream. But pirates as a whole have a bad reputation, which is well known in Qinghai. But Konis said softly, pirates are probably the brave warriors from Qinghai who dare to challenge the dangers on the sea. After hearing this, Chopper's face immediately became surprised, and then a little excited. He quickly said, yes, yes. Pirates are warriors on the sea. Konis and Pagoya still have a very good attitude towards Chopper and the others. Because they all understand one thing, there are good people and bad people of any identity. Even God is the same. Rog, Sanji, Usopp and Luffy flew above the White Sea with their wings. Usopp kept looking at the clouds below and said, where is Nami? Sanji looked at the clouds below with sharp eyes, and he didn't miss any place. Miss Nami, Where are you? Sanji shouted to the clouds below. Roger looked at the clouds below and felt that the situation was critical. In this kingdom of gods, any danger may appear suddenly. The four of them were flying in the sky, and their field of vision was quite wide. Luffy suddenly saw something splitting the clouds and was driving quickly. What is that? Luffy pointed at that thing. The others also looked at the speeding thing together. The four of them lowered their height a little bit as they approached each other. The four were surprised to find that it was actually Nami. At this time, Nami was driving the Viva rapidly. Nami. Miss Nami. It's really safe. Great. Rog, Sanji, Usopp and Luffy were very happy to see Nami. Nami, who was driving Viva, also saw the four of them, Rog and Sanji. The four of them were flying above the clouds with branch wings. Nami finally breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the four of them. Finally met with them, we need to tell everyone about the situation. Nami drives Viva to join Rog and the others. Just when Nami was about to join the four of them, a huge figure was moving under the white clouds. This figure spotted the speedy driven by Nami, who was driving at top speed. It swam towards Nami's position. Nami drove the Viva to continue driving, and suddenly she found something weird. She felt the clouds below Viva tremble violently. There are even some floating. Suddenly, something huge began to protrude from the clouds below Nami's control. Nami looked around in horror and said, "What's going on?" Because the huge thing under Viva began to rise, causing Viva to be lifted up. Not only Nami, but Rog and Sanji also saw an astonishingly huge thing rising from the clouds. Sanji said in surprise, "What is this?" Usopp said nervously, "No, no." Rog said seriously, "Could it be true?" Luffy said excitedly, "It's so big." A huge head resembling a giant sea snake rose from the clouds. The Viva controlled by Nami was carried on top of its head. This is a huge monster like a sea snake, with huge scales on its body. Like a snake or a sea beast. Leviathan. Rogue, Sanji, and Usopp looked at this huge monster. They all remembered the knowledge they read from the navigation classics when they were sailing in Qinghai Sea. A powerful sea monster once lived in the depths of the Great Root. The monster was huge, like a supergiant sea snake, with astonishingly huge fangs in its mouth, spikes on its body, and its whole body was covered with hard skin. Scales. This is the frightening sea monster Leviathan that can easily destroy giant sailing ships in the legend. There are even a large number of oil paintings of Leviathan on many classic books. But the scary sea monsters in these oil paintings are all the same. Basically, they are huge sea snakes, with hard scales all over the body, a large number of spikes, and terrible fangs in their mouths. Now Rog and Sanji did not expect that they would encounter this terrifying giant sea monster in the Bibai Sea near Kandao. Leviathan's huge body has already rushed out of the clouds. The huge head is 20 meters wide and 50 meters long, and the giant sea snake-like body is even more astonishingly huge. The two huge eyes on that head are as huge as a carriage. The mouth with huge fangs can smash a 3-story building. The Viba controlled by Nami is still on Leviathan's head. Now Nami stood on Viba, looking at the huge monster full of horror. Nami said in horror, "There is such a terrifying monster in the sky. Although I have seen countless huge sea king monsters in the Sea of Qinghai, this Leviathan is full of fierce aura, not only with the ferocity of a monster, but also with a kind of evil spirit. Especially the spikes and scales on the body of this huge monster in the clouds, as well as the fangs in the mouth, make people feel sincere fear." The giant beast rushing out of the clouds also noticed that Nami was still above its head. Ow! With a roar, Leviathan slammed his head away from the Viba controlled by Nami. Just now, the Leviathan's head had risen more than meters from the clouds. Now it was swung violently, and Nami and Viba had been thrown flying to a height of more than meters above the clouds under the huge force. Pirate Plant Fruit. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Le'er a Dream. Chapter 750. You can search for Pirate Plant Fruit popular in Baidu to find the latest chapters. Of course, Bibihe is originally meters high, but it looks very spectacular like this. What? Nami yelled in the air in horror. She separated from Vayaba and began to plummet toward the clouds below. Nami. Usopp, Rog, and Luffy looked at Nami, who was falling quickly, in horror. Sanji suddenly started to alternate his feet, and the branch wings on his back began to fly at the fastest speed. Miss Nami, I'm here to save you. Sanji flies towards Nami with incredible speed. At this time, the amazing speed of Sanji's feet alternated, which actually had a propulsive effect on the airflow. Although it can't reach the level of the moon step of the Navy's 6 style, it is still very powerful. The key is that it can cooperate with the branches and wings on the back to make the flight faster. Sanji quickly flew to Nami, who was falling rapidly, and hugged Nami. Nami was terrified. She looked at Sanji. I saw Sanji hugging Nami like a knight hugging a princess. Nami looked at Sanji and said Sanji. Sanji had a heroic look on his face and said, Miss Nami, the knight's rescue was late and you were frightened. I'm really sorry. However, Leviathan, this huge monster, still did not stop. It continued to bite Sanji with its huge mouth open. Ow! Escape quickly. Sanji hugged Nami tightly and flew away quickly, away from the attack of this terrifying monster. Just as Sanji hugged Nami to avoid Leviathan's attack, Rog and Usopp rushed to support them. Rog used the plant fusion ability to take out the stake air cannon from his body. Rog attached a stake air cannon to his right arm and aimed at the giant beast. Fire! The wooden post air cannon on Rog's right arm fired a powerful compressed air stream. The air current hits the Leviathan. But this compressed airflow couldn't effectively destroy Leviathan's hard scales. These scales are extremely hard, comparable to steel. Usopp also took out a special large slingshot. He put a special projectile the size of a palm on the slingshot. Usopp pulled the large slingshot tight and aimed at Leviathan. The killing large flame star. Usopp fired this special projectile. The specially crafted projectile hit the Leviathan, and it exploded quickly, creating a cloud of flames. Usopp's previous flame stars could only burn one person, but the large flame star detonated by this special projectile can burn an elephant. Of course, this blow did not have much impact on Leviathan. But it still worked, at least it made Leviathan turn his attention to Rog and Usopp. The behemoth that lived in the clouds began to attack Roger and Usopp. Oops, it's coming. Both Rog and Usopp looked serious. This behemoth further stretched its body out of the clouds. Judging from the currently exposed part, it is estimated that its overall length will not be less than 1,000 meters. Luffy was extremely excited when he saw Leviathan approaching. Luffy said excitedly, this big guy is closer. Usopp scolded Luffy even more angrily, saying, what are you so excited about, you bastard? The gigantic Leviathan continued to pursue the three of them. Rog said, after all, we are flying, so we still have an advantage. Run quickly and you won't be attacked by him. Rog, Usopp and Luffy hurriedly used the plant wings to escape. This astonishingly large beast in the clouds cannot be defeated easily. The scales of its body are as hard as steel, and its length can reach 1,000 meters, and because it is a body structure similar to that of a sea snake, it is huge and flexible at the same time. Even if the three of Rog escaped, they were always cautious. At this time, Sanji was hugging Nami and speeding away. Fortunately, Rog and Usopp attracted Leviathan's attention, allowing them to escape smoothly. The scene of the giant beast in the cloud chasing the three of them is really spectacular. Nami was embraced by Sanji, and she looked at the giant Leviathan chasing Rog and the others. Nami said worriedly, Rog and Usopp will be fine. She turned her eyes to Sanji, only to see the love on Sanji's face at this time, completely intoxicated in the dream of a hero saving the beauty. Nami frowned and said, "Sanji, what are you thinking about?" Sanji suddenly recovered from his happiness, and he said, "I was thinking that it would be great for you, Miss Nami, to be safe." Nami's face softened a little and she said, "But Rog and the others are in danger." Sanji also glanced at Leviathan chasing Rog and the others. He sighed, "Indeed, this is really an amazing and huge monster. Such a terrifying monster can actually live in the Sea of Clouds near Sky Island. It seems that this so-called god the country is not a safe place." Nami suddenly remembered something, and she said, "By the way, I just learned some terrible information. I will tell everyone soon after everyone is gathered." Nami just saw the horror of the sanction of the gods and listened to the conversation of the four priests. Now she is very worried about everyone's future. The 8 members of the Straw Hat Pirates are already considered illegal immigrants. Unimaginable danger awaits everyone. The horror of the Almighty God behind those priests is probably far beyond imagination. Sanji hugged Nami tightly and continued to fly towards Angel Beach. Rog, Luffy and Usopp together to attract Leviathan. The giant cloud beast was attracted by the 3 of them, and they fled while flying with the branches and wings, making Leviathan's pursuit unable to effectively attack the 3 of them for a while. Leviathan found himself unable to pursue, it opened its huge mouth. At this time, Rog and the others, who were flying fast with the branches and wings, looked back and saw Leviathan's huge mouth opened. Usopp said strangely, "What does this guy want to do?" Leviathan opened its huge mouth, and strong air waves spurted out from Leviathan's mouth. Buzz! A huge airflow spewed out from Leviathan's huge mouth. This huge airflow produced a huge driving force, blowing Rog, Usopp and Luffy away. The 3 of them were blown away as if struck by a strong storm. Wow, everything is turned upside down. Usopp's whole body flew far away. It's such a strong wind. Luffy was blown away. Such a strong air current. Rog was shocked to find that he couldn't even control his body under the powerful air current attack. After being blown away by the air current, the 3 of them flew hundreds of meters before falling to the clouds below. At this moment, Roger reacted urgently. He knew that once he fell into the clouds, he would be more likely to be attacked by Leviathan because he was unfamiliar with the environment. Pirate plant fruit.